just like we're having a conversation.
And we're rolling, so right.
Yeah, if you could just maybe give us a little background about the award and how you came into getting it, first off.
Well, first of all, the award was absolutely a complete surprise. I wasn't even aware that there was an award that was given by the Disabled Students Association. And since it came from students, it made it really one of the things that I probably I will remember about Ball State and probably always cherish. But the award was given to a faculty member that went to took measures to help a person that was disabled work in the labs or help them out. I don't know, I'm having a bad time right now.
That's all right. No, just talk, it'll get to it. So.
Okay.
What was
the award essentially is to a faculty member that was recognized by a student for going above and beyond, I guess, what was expected for a faculty member. And some of the things that we did for Dave Gobin, who is in a wheelchair, is we simply took a table, one of the computer tables, and put it 2x4s up underneath it so that he could get up underneath the table. He has an electric wheelchair, it's rather large. Another item that we worked on was in the darkroom. We were kind of fearful that he wouldn't be able to get into the darkroom with such a large machine. And what we found is there were a tabletop darkroom that you could go in and things like that. So in the activities in the photography classes that we had, he just did it out in the lab rather than in the darkroom, and then that worked out really nice for us. Just simple things like that. There was the hard part about saying anything about the award. I never did anything intentionally to get an award. It just was common sense things that it appeared to me. We had to raise a table, or else he would have ripped his knees open, you know, when he ran into the table. And it was, like I said before, it was just a complete surprise to be told that one day, come on up, we're recognizing you, and bring some of your friends, you know. So it was really nice.
What was some of the feedback you had from other instructors and students as the benefits of doing accommodations like this?
I'll tell you, in our area, in technology ed, because we use so many labs, we have like instruction labs, manufacturing labs, transportation labs, and printing. What it did is, when my students found out, they wanted to know what kind of things we had done, and then when I showed them, like, well, simply a 2x4 will help a kid get the same, you know, he can get the same equipment and use the same equipment. You know, it was like, wow, I never really gave that much thought, you know, and that's what it is just what is common sense things that you need to do to help kids out. And what I'll tell you, like in our area, it's there's a lot of manipulatives and things like that, so you have to go to lengths to make sure that kids they have the same opportunities or whatever. And that's what I talked about when I got the award afterwards. It's sort of like you have to sit and reflect on it a little bit. It was, well, these are the things I did, and I hope that, you know, we have 2 students that were in wheelchairs last year that were in the classes, the graphics class and the transportation class. So the kids became more aware. It may have been the first time that any of them were in a situation where they had a kid that wasn't as mobile as they were.
Describe some of the usual testing accommodations, and what are some of the unusual accommodations that have been used or could be used?
I can tell you, like on the equipment behind us, the hydraulics and pneumatics, the material is pretty stationary. What we will do is, in the past, I've had students that have had reading problems, or they usually will come forward. I have in my syllabus, I've put in, if you have any kind of problem that I should know about within the first 2 weeks of the semester, they ought to come and see me about that. So what I've done is, it's completely confidential. The other students don't need to know who's having problems and who's not. And, first thing with Dave, what I did, I can go give you briefly. I called Rich Harris up, who is the director of the Disabled Students Association. And I told him about my concerns, especially in the first class I had with Dave Gobin was in the graphics lab. And I was concerned about the press. I was concerned about darkroom work and things like that. And it's not so much that it was written tests that he was going to take. It was that he had there are certain skills involved that he has to acquire. So what we did is we walked through, the chairman of the department, Don Smith, myself, and Rich Harris, and I walked through and I told him, I think these may be trouble spots. And then about a week later, I went through with Dave, and we found, for the drawing and for layout, we found a light table that we were able to tip up and down that he fits under perfectly. It just is, it's excellent. Something like that. When it came time for exams or writing assignments, the kids that I've had that are, that I know that they have some kind of disability, we have 50-minute periods, and it may sometimes take up to, an hour and 15 minutes for them to finish. So that's the kind of thing. What I do is if it's a 50-minute exam and it takes an hour and 15 minutes, everybody has the hour and 15 minutes. A couple of times in Dave's case, I've let him call the house, just tell him, on a couple of the assignments or whatever. So it's just those kind of things. If you're accommodating, it's not like, okay, the stopwatch has just been, the clock is ticking and that's it. Because I know a lot of the kids know how to do things. It's just their situation makes it that they need a little more time, and that's essentially what I do.
How do you usually handle out of the ordinary type requests like that?
Usually it'll probably be in my office, or if the student gets me alone, I'll talk to them and just see what kind of accommodations need to be made. And there's not anything that can't be worked out to the satisfaction of what my obligation is to the university and to the student. But the student, in my eye, is primary. So if it takes 2 hours to do a 50-minute exam, I'll sit with them. And I've had the extraordinary event where I had a kid who was dyslexic, really, and plus, talk about test anxiety. I don't want to say he flipped out, but it was just like there was nothing on the page, and sort of like the deer in the headlight effect. And so what I did is I brought him into the office and I went through question by question with him, and we just sat there and I just said, you know this, but just you need to lighten up. I read the test to him, and he walked through like that. That was just, I've had it's amazing how many students, when they will be honest with you that they're having a reading problem, after the first few assignments they'll tell you, yeah, I'm slightly dyslexic, or I have a comprehension problem, or something to that effect. So I don't see that that kind of problem should stop them from being able to achieve or gain the skills that they do in here.
What would you like to see added, or how would you improve the process?
I will tell you a few of the things I'd like to see. I wish the kids, the students, would be a little more forthcoming. That I'd like to give them 2 weeks. I'm pretty easy, and the award tells you I'm accessible, so I'm here most of the time. And it's unfortunate some kids are embarrassed, but they've carried this through from high school or whatever, and to get into the junior year or even your sophomore year, end of your sophomore year, without telling anybody, but your grades will reflect, some of the problems. I would like the kids to be more forthcoming. As far in our area of tech ed with the labs, we don't have a lot of students with disabilities, as far as I know. And I just think it's something that I'm trying to make kids aware that you're going to have, when you go out in the public school and teach, you're going to have students that may have some kind of disability, and you've got to be aware of them and ready for it. It's, the good thing about when I first met Dave, he came in, I guess it was about 2 hours before class, and said, I'm here, and I'm going to need some special stuff. And actually he wanted to take a saw to a table, and so we could raise it up. But we have accommodations here at I guess it's Physical Plant, that they have tables for kids in wheelchairs, or just about anything that you would ever need.
How do you keep from compromising curriculum standards?
I give everybody an equal shot. Like I said to you, if everybody's papers are graded the same, But if somebody needs extra time in terms of like an exam, everybody just make it aware that, like, according to your schedule, you know, it's just one of those things that the skills that they learn shouldn't be put under a stopwatch. I think pretty much all my students, even my straight A's, would tell you that, yeah, they appreciate that they know they're not under any grades. I also, in 50 minutes, it's hard to write an exam that will reflect what you've done in, you know, over like 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. So what I try and do is like unit tests if I have to do that. So instead of trying to get a whole lot in, it's more that we go unit by unit by unit.
Do instructors always work through the disability counseling office to do testing accommodations?
I can tell you I don't know that for a fact, but I know what I did when I first realized that I had Dave Gobin, and I have another student from last semester that I went up and I knew what the system is, and we were fortunate enough that after this situation arose that we had a student in a wheelchair. I'm not sure it'd be the first time in the department, first time since I've been here. We had a meeting down in the one of our little rooms down there, and we just talked about the things that we may need to do to accommodate the student to make things, you know, you got to make the playing table even. And that's essentially what we did. And we went down, and I had talked to Rich Harris, and then Don Smith had talked to Rich. And then I went around and I talked to the other people. I knew what his schedule was, so I went and I talked to the other people that were involved and said, this is what I'm doing. And at the time he was in 1 lab, and last semester I had him in 2 labs. So we had a good time. I think he got everything done that needed to be done, and I think he probably, you know, there was no undue attention. So, and he'll probably be a good teacher too.
What would you like other instructors viewing this program to take with them and apply to their classrooms?
Probably that the things that you do are common sense things. There's nothing heroic that you have to go about and do. Some of the simplest things, the example I give you again is, you put a table, you get a 2x4, you cut it in half, you put the legs of the table on top of the 2x4s. And then you have accessibility. It doesn't hinder the students without handicaps, and it certainly enhances what the other students can do. And just be mindful that these kids have a lot of pride in what they do. They have a lot of creativity, and just try and nurture that. That's essentially what I try to do with Dave. And I can even say that everyone's proud of me because I even made him get his hair cut.
Tell us about the award naming you Most Accessible Instructor.
The award was really, I can tell you, it was one of the biggest surprises I've gotten, and it was one of the most touching moments of my life, besides professional life. And because I had not ever received an award at a university or from students. And I'm trying to recall a little bit. One of the things that I mentioned is why it made it so special is it was from students. And it's always reminded me of why I'm here at Ball State. And there are a lot of things that go on at Ball State, but the students are what is essential. And to get it from a student that he's worked his butt off for me even meant more. It was really it was quite an honor. And it reflects well on my department and the people I work with too, because I didn't do it alone. Once we were aware of what the situation was going to be, there were a lot of people that came down to see what we were doing down here, and just in some of the regular classrooms, they said, "Yeah, we could do this. That's not a hard thing to do, or whatever." And it just, I left feeling really, really, really good. It just was a nice, and I think Dave did too. And I think the effort that he put into writing his nomination that also says a lot about the person that he is.
Great. Anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you.
Okay, good. Not too tight. This one.
Using that here.
I had the other one inscribed.
Yeah. Is anyone here like this doctor?
Yeah, it doesn't matter as long as we get one line. Get this line right here. Okay, pop that up.
Okay, I see this line right here.
Yeah, just, yep, that's good. I didn't take off the crop marks. There you go, good.
See. It's still in line.
This is the big chase, that's why. Unless something, yeah, there's something on the bottom there. Okay. Pull down the safety guard. Okay, come on over this side, big guy. Big guy.
Huh?
Jump down. It's like glue right now. I'm gonna let it run. It's definitely. That's gonna be vacuum.
Good. Cool. That's nothing.
And now vacuum here. Okay, let's try it again. That's perfect. We're gonna have to pull the. We're just feeding right now.
Okay. Pull the ignite.
Not yet. Not yet. Put this one in. Good. So that's done.
You through Christ.
Yep.
Okay, we'll be alright because we still have our guidelines for cut. Still cut. Send it up just
When
right.
we start it up again, put the red ball in, okay?
Okay.
Push that in now. It's gonna miss a card. Go ahead. Just push the yellow on top there. Ow.
Oh, we did that back. You done with it?
Oh, do you want more? Big ball out? What I'll do is... That one's the one I missed. Okay, hold on. Okay, good. Put the... Snow? Okay, good. Did a lot of them in there today. That's why. Go ahead. Back it down just a little bit. Past the cappers.
push level 7 right at the same time.
There you go.
Keep on going.
Good.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
You pull this one up. You hold that there. Okay. See that? Look at that. I grabbed 3 sheets. Just stack this on. That's good. Thank you. Why don't we let the feed bring it up?